We're all about shotguns this week as Jason Doyle tries out pheasants and partridges in Wiltshire thanks to Italian gunmaker Rizzini. I'm off to meet an old stager of the gun trade. Dennis Stepney is talking me through how to buy a new or second-hand shotgun. We've got news with Aaron on the stump. This programme will be the death of Aaron. And I'm bringing you Hunting YouTube. Welcome to Field Sports Britain.
Take a gun, go out and enjoy shooting it. What we're here to do is to put everything through its paces.
We'll get suited and booted and make sure we get the right shells and out into the field and try them. Now this is the Regal, got this beautiful Boss style forend, really nice engraving. I'm much more a fan of this engraving than Game Scene, but it's a 20 bore, it's 28-inch barrels, so it's very different than I'm used to. Quite a nice sort of semi-pistol grip. Oh, we've got some birdies coming. Sorry about that. Rudely interrupted by some partridge. It's funny, I was aware of Rizzini as a brand when I was younger, but had never really sort of seen many of them. My real awareness came about when David went to the factory last year and did a film, and I was sort of blown away with the level of bespoke gun fitting and stuff that they can do on what is quite a budget price point. So I started looking at them more then, and some of the round body game stuff, they just handle so nicely. I'm amazed how light the recoil is. I'm shooting Game Bore Regal 28 gram, which 28 gram in a 20 bore is sort of as high as I'd really like to go. But the recoil is really negligible, but beautiful, beautiful little gun to shoot. Really, really sweet. And these patches are fantastic. It's real traditional passage drive for this part of the world. Beaters coming in from several stubble fields. And the way they just pegged us on the day to use the wind, patches curling out from the drive and going right down the line, which is lovely to see. Really, really clever beating. Filippo has a side-by-side 28 bore that I'm quite keen to try. Haven't shot a side-by-side in years, and I've never shot a 28 bore, so just to really make sure I hit nothing on the next drive, I might give that a go. But I've brought some 28 bore Regal from Game Bore, and yeah, I really want to try them and see if I can hit anything. Rocky is beating with my good lady fiance in North Yorkshire, and beating was deemed a more important use of his time than coming and picking up with me.
So we've got James instead. He's a good boy. He's a good boy.
Not quite as fit, obviously.
I think Rizzini are a small company, but they produce great products. So I think for us as a specialist sporting agency, to be able to work with a family-run business who we know and trust and use their guns quite a bit means a lot to us. Great to be able to get them out over from Italy into the UK and to shoot some cracking Southern English partridge and pheasant. Shooting across Hampshire, Wiltshire and Sussex is really attractive for clients, whether they're coming from Italy or whether they're coming out of town. It's a really popular way to spend time with friends, colleagues and clients and shoot close to London, and I think that it's often overlooked as people whiz down past the Stonehenge and the A303 and go down to Dorset. So I think actually we've got some great sport to offer here in Hampshire and Wiltshire, and we'd love to welcome more people here next year.
I'm definitely better with a 12. This one's actually really nice. It's got a nice high stock, big pistol grip that I'm used to. And I have to say I've been shooting these Game Bore 33 gram Grouse Extreme the last few days, and there's less felt recoil from this than I would say from my Perazzi. It's a similar style action, but yeah, soaks up the recoil really, really well.
The Rizzini is a combination of personalization and machine production. So what they actually are able to do is bring a gun into a price bracket with enough personalization so that the individual who is aspiring to something made for himself can still have that done without having to break the bank and take out a mortgage. Now the range starts at around about $3,000 and then moves up, and today we've had guns in all the price brackets, culminating in the full custom, well up to the sort of the £20,000 bracket. But in between, there is something for everybody, and the key is that every model of Rizzini can be tailored to individual specifications, whether it be barrel length or style or type of choke, stock measurements, number of triggers, goes without saying. Fabulous day down here in Wiltshire, Druids Lodge. Beautifully run, really nice people, extremely professional. All the drives went like clockwork. I think everybody got shooting, and plenty of it. All sorts of heights and variations of birds. So 5 out of 5.
Yeah, the end of an absolutely fantastic day. Great birds, and I cannot thank Rizzini enough for inviting us along and putting on the day. The 12 bore that I ended up using for the last couple of drives, really fallen for it. Really, really nice gun, and it's definitely something now. It's gone from down here in my list of guns I want to own, and it's jumped a long way up. I really will consider Rizzini from now on. The way it handles recoil, the way it shoots, the way it just handles in general was superb. When you know the guys behind the brand, and potentially if I want a new gun, I could ring Filippo up and say I want to buy a Rizzini. You can go out to the factory, get all your measurements done, be involved in the whole process, and you have something that's bespoke to you, and straight away you have more than money invested in it. You've invested time and consideration into it, and yeah, it's something I would really, really consider.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Edward, for connecting us with the birds there. Now for a spot of disconnection, it's Aaron on the Field Sports Channel News Stump.
This is Field Sports Channel News. The UK election on the 12th of December could be decisive for hunting and shooting sports. Pro-hunting campaigners are targeting anti-hunting MPs, many of whom are in marginal seats. Anti-hunting Tory Zach Goldsmith has a majority of 40 in his Richmond Park constituency. Sue Hayman, the Labour DEFRA shadow who wants to end hunting and shooting, has a majority of under 4,000. Labour's Ruth George last week lied to Parliament about wild bird numbers in her High Peak constituency in an attempt to smear grouse shooting. New research shows that populations of 16 bird species in the Peak District are up, in contrast to the national trends from the UK government's State of Nature 2019 report. She has a majority of 2,300. And this picture is doing the rounds on the internet, though, as so often with Boris, it's hard to know if it's a fake. Embarrassment at DEFRA over a sheep. DEFRA Minister Zach Goldsmith wants to ban Britons going big game hunting overseas. He began a consultation on the issue with an online document that was originally illustrated with a picture of a Makor ewe, a rare sheep found in Central Asia. Not only are the Makor ewes not hunted, but the handful of licenses granted for the hunting of Makor rams every year brings in all of the money that pays for their conservation. The consultation closes on the 25th of January 2020. Please respond to it. This film shows how Goldsmith and other antis have tried to stop hunting around the world. Another DEFRA consultation underway is one into general licenses. If you have not yet done so, please follow the link in the description and respond to it, or you may lose pigeon and rook shooting. It closes on the 5th of December 2019. Angry hunt saboteurs in Cheshire don't like it when the hunt films them. This altercation between masked antis and hunters took place in Marbury in November 2019, thanks to Lottie May for sending us this film. Another missing hen harrier has turned up. Natural England reports that its transmitter stopped working and has now started working again, but too late to stop the anti-grouse shooting activists flooding the internet with accusations against gamekeepers. Meanwhile, antis including the RSB are accusing shooting estates of killing 2 white-tailed eagles after their satellite tags stopped working near grouse moors. Antis want to stop legal trail hunting on a National Trust property. The League Against Cruel Sport is urging the National Trust to cancel permission to hunt over its Farnborough Hall estate in Warwickshire. The Trust issued the trail hunting licence to the Warwickshire Hunt. There's a new website for people who like to shoot and eat game. FairGamePursuits.com is the brainchild of Jim Hook MBE. Look out for their podcast, which next week features our own Charlie Jacoby. A fox bit a London woman as she slept at her mum's house. At 5 a.m, the animal crept in through a window at the house in Willesden and bit the woman who wants to remain anonymous on the lip. When she reacted, it bit her in the ear. She ran out of the room screaming and the fox bolted out of the window. Shooters were angered this week by the discovery of partridge carcasses dumped by the side of a road. Antis made a great deal of the partridges, which appear to have been breasted out. The incident took place in Crackmannanshire between Dollar and Tillicoultree. Thanks to Liz Bowring for this story. Red deer in the Highlands are evolving because of climate change. A 45-year study finds genetic changes in birth patterns of red deer on the Isle of Rum. Not only do warmer temperatures encourage deer to give birth earlier in the year, it has also meant that the gene for breeding earlier has become more common among rum deer. Pheasants are partial to heather beetle. That's why pheasants are being found on the North Yorkshire moors, says the North Yorkshire Moors Moorland Organisation, NIMO, which put out this film. Heather beetle is widespread and its larvae feed on the leaves of heather plants, stripping them bare. Good news for grey squirrels in the UK. From December, wildlife charities will not be allowed to release grey squirrels into the countryside. Antis are furious. A Norwegian farmer who has shot a wolf will not be prosecuted. Under Norwegian law, you have to try and scare the wolf before you can shoot it. In Finland, police were called to shoot a wolf that would not run away. Thanks to Per Homseth for these stories. Police in Spain have arrested 2 poachers. Following a dawn raid, police in Cuenca seized rifles, night vision and thermal equipment from the men who have been night shooting deer in local reserves. Botswana, Namibia and Zimbabwe are making the first moves to leave CITES. By the end of November, they are going to submit protest documents that will allow them to legally trade in their elephants, rhino and giraffes. The three countries have declared themselves independent of the controls exercised by the United Nations Convention on the International Trade in Wildlife. If you want a short lesson in the economics of wildlife, watch this short film from the Nordic Safari Club. When it comes to the battle of films, antis have the big budgets. This animation from the Born Free Foundation aims to show how lion cubs are bred for petting and then shooting. It calls the film the shocking reality behind lion tourism in South Africa. Antis have been making false accusations against Zimbabwe over elephant sales. Zim Parks made nearly £3 million selling more than 100 baby elephants to China and to the United Arab Emirates over the last 3 years. Animal rights activists took to social media accusing Zim Parks of misappropriating sale proceeds. The organisation has published accounts to show how the income was spent on conservation and asked the antis whether they would prefer the baby elephants to be slaughtered. And finally, regulated hunting is good for wildlife in Kyrgyzstan. This report on Al Jazeera television shows how a strict ban on poaching is helping large animals. Unfortunately, the reporter is not bright enough to make the distinction between regulated hunting and poaching, so claims that it is a ban on hunting that's good for wildlife. You are now up to date with Field Sports Channel News. Stalking for stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, Aaron. And if you want to see more news, pop over to the front page of our website. There's a link in the description below. Now, if you're thinking of buying a shotgun, what shape and size should you consider? Dennis Stepney runs UK gun repairs outside Taunton, not far from the high pheasant shoots of Exmoor. I'm here to find out how to choose a gun for pheasant shooting. First up, here's a question that appears a lot in our comments. Side by side or over and under?
I wish the side-by-side invitations were greater, because that's a marketplace that's sadly dying with us. Super guns, elegant to look at, but sadly we sell far more over and unders than ever side-by-side, and I can't see that changing.
And that's got to do with people looking around them on pheasant shoots and saying, everybody else is using a side-by-side, I should too.
I'm going to have a little bit of a critique here against the shooting schools. A young person goes to a shooting school, the first thing they're given is an over and under. It's a little like the lady learning to drive. She's confident that she can drive a little Volkswagen Golf, so she goes and buys one. So, there's an awful lot of proper families that shoot and traditionally have shot with side-by-sides, and I think the youngsters should have the opportunity of following in that vein. If I buy a brand new gun, is it like buying a brand new car? How much do I wipe off its value as I walk out of the shop? Well, of course, there's my bit, which has to be considered, mortgages to be paid, the wholesalers, the manufacturers. Yes, you lose a lump. Let's forget the VAT, which none of us want to hear about. I favour the used gun because I feel I'm getting more value for my money. I can buy a better mark for the kind of money that perhaps I would be spending on a lesser mark. But there is a thing, isn't there? I mean, people talk about barrels having 10,000 shots in their whole life. Is that true or not? Yeah, no. Quality gun, looked after well. You know, it's a lifetime. If you look at some of the quality English guns, you know, they were made in the early 1900s and still shooting very, very well. They've had a bit of work on them. Oh, yes, yeah. But you see, again, another problem. Your motor car tells you immediately when your service is due. Drives you mad with little flashing lights. Nothing in the gun trade. You know, we shoot it till it breaks, and then we arrive, hopefully here, and go, I'm shooting Saturday. Can you help me? Let's talk about stocks first of all. Show me the arm thing. Can you show me that? Yeah, it's a little bit of a myth. I mean, it's a quick fix. You know, it's an indication. The finger should come forward and touch the first trigger, and as you can see, seeing I'm particularly short, this gun would be grossly too long. And what's that stock length? This stock length on this gun is 14 3/4, which would be suited more to your above 5'10s. And at 5'7", that doesn't work for me.
Okay, that's good. That's a good test. But how tall am I if I'm a 13.5 inch? How tall am I if I'm 16 inches?
Yeah, quite. I mean, the difficult thing here is that's why there's a fitting room. Number one, you come in, I mean, statures completely change. I mean, I'm standing here talking to you, Charlie. I mean, what are you, 6'3", 6'4"?
I was 6'4", I'm a bit less now.
Yeah, I was 6'2", but a long time ago.
You're a paratrooper, of course.
Yeah. No, come in and get it fitted. The essence here is, let's use the motor car analogy. Can I drive your car? Yes, of course I can. Not where the seat is at the moment. And I'm adjusting the mirrors. I'm doing all the various bits. And it's common sense, and we think nothing about it. So we come in and we buy a gun because I fell in love with the stock. And then for the rest of my shooting career, I suffer with a gun sticking under the shoulder. No, come on, get it fitted.
So that's easy to do in the shop, isn't it?
Yeah, this is where the professionalism comes in, and I think, you know, if you're buying something you're going to have for the rest of your life, hopefully the rest of your life, spend a few quid, get the thing fitted, you'll shoot it a damn sight better.
Give me an example of good wood and ordinary wood.
Yeah, well, it just so happens I've got a rather lovely gun in front of me. It's a Woodward. It's perhaps one of the premier, well, it is, in my opinion, one of the premier makes. And those gun makers at the time knew exactly what they were doing. They picked a piece of timber that was straight and strong through the head here, through to the hand of the stock, and after the checkering line, this is your territory, Mr. Customer. You can have it as flary as you like, and looking very, very pretty here, because that's not where the strength is necessary. So a gun stock is two parts. The stocker, quality stocker, picks timber which is strong, great integrity through here. You can see the fineness of the hand. I mean, that takes an awful lot of pressure opening and closing the gun recoil. So that has to be incredibly strong. As I said, this piece, window dressing.
Back along, when I would have been buying a good and quality English game gun like that one, I'd have been looking for £6 because it had 28-inch barrels and a 14.5-inch stock. So your overall weight was nice and light compared to an over and under, and your barrels are no more than 28. But they've moved outwards, haven't they?
Yeah. Shooting's changed. You know, we're now looking to shoot at things that upwards of 40 yards. You know, a 28-inch barreled gun, especially on someone of your stature, would be considered short. It's a matter of preference as well. As I said, I'm short, but I shoot 32-inch barrels.
I'm going to walk out of here buying a gun, aren't I, at this rate?
Yeah, quite, yeah. It's a matter of shooting styles. You know, I'd like to think I'm slower, more deliberate, so longer barrels suit me. If you're a flamboyant, natural hand to a, eye coordination shooter, maybe you favour 28s. It's not my place to argue, it's personal preference.
Back in the 1920s, Mr. Churchill, gunmaker, was pushing the 25-inch barrel, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So we've really moved. Can you see this trend for 32 inches becoming shorter over time?
I think, if I say it, the onset of possible non-toxic shot, steel shot coming in, we appreciate it doesn't kill as well as the lead does. I think we have a responsibility as shooting men perhaps to adjust our shooting heights. Birds at a lower level suit that Churchill shooting style. I mean, they're a wonderful little gun to shoot in a piece of woodland, snap shooting, woodcock, whatever. But I wouldn't want to be stood on a big Exmoor drive looking at crucifixes coming across with a 25-inch barreled gun.
Now, let's take a quick break from Dennis and go back to the summer when gun auctioneer Gavin Gardner told me about a bargain pair of Purdy's, and he tells me why they're a bargain too.
Unfortunately, the majority of shots in the market today believe that 30 inches or longer is the magic length. They're built in 1956, they've got good long stocks, virtually all of their original finish and hardening colour. They're a virtually unused pair of guns. I mean, today this pair of guns would cost you over £300,000 from Purdy's.
That would cost you £300,000 from Purdy?
Yeah.
And these ones are unused, so how much are you selling them for?
Between 25 and 30,000.
Oh, come on!
Yeah.
Just
unfortunately, the reason for the remarkably low valuation is the fact that they have short barrels. They have 26-inch barrels, And everybody in the marketplace today wants them to have 30-inch barrels.
Well,
so they're 4 inches short. They're very, very fast-moving. They handle very well. They're very quick. They would make an absolutely ideal pair of grouse guns in my book.
at Gavin's August auction at Gleneagles, sadly, they didn't sell. Back to Dennis, and the last questions on what to look for in a gun are trigger, action and ejector. And to Dennis, this comes down to your budget.
Yeah, I think money consideration, obviously, number one. I'd rather you had a nice quality gun, non-ejector, second-hand, that fitted into your budget, rather than poor quality, bells and whistles, maybe, looking gun. I think it's a case of fitting the gun around the budget and the quality.
Okay, so ejector is not essential in your opinion?
Yes. When you're in the heat of battle, it's rather nice that when you look down there's two black holes. But if your budget doesn't run to an ejector gun, pull them out. Is
a single trigger essential these days, or are you again?
No, I think perhaps you and I both come with age that we started off on double trigger guns. I'd like to think and boast that if I look down at the start of the drive and realise that my gun's got two triggers, it's not too difficult to move it backwards, is it? Single trigger guns are inevitably not quite as reliable as double trigger guns.
Let's say starter guns. Give me three possible budgets. There's no embarrassment about which one you choose, but where are people looking generally?
It's always a difficult one. You know, I think you value your client base, and you have to ask that horrible question when they're in the showroom. You know, where does the pocket stretch to? I have a Matrix, which is just over the £1,000, gets me into one of the 4 marketplace leaders as a second-hand gun. It might have the earmuff marks on it. It might have bluing, might not be quite as good as it should be, but basically the quality is brilliant. And I'd much rather my clients went into that, spent a few pounds, got it fitted, or come to me, we do it for free, and then let them have a quality gun that will serve them well, rather than a fancy plastic case and a gold dog on the side of the action, and perhaps not the quality inside.
And if you're talking the 4 market leaders, what are those?
You've got the big names. You've got Beretta, Browning, Maruccu, Caesar Greeny. Not necessarily in that order. They're all 4 proper marks. Going back to the car analogy, you know, they're the Audi, BMW, VW, and some of the top Japanese make.
Now, when you walk into a gun shop and you see what's called a shop-in-shop with Beretta over the top, you can be pretty sure they're going to try and sell you a Beretta, aren't you?
It's always safe for a salesman to sell the product because you're never going to dissatisfy your customer. But then, as I said, Browning, which is Maruccu, I mean, it's a wonderful product. Caesar Greeny, it's come through the ranks marvellously. It's now a contender, the backup on all of these. And I have to say, Caesar Greeny in particular is wonderful.
For purposes of balance, are you a Caesar Greeny main dealer?
Yes.
Just a quick aside here. Back when I first started writing about guns 25 years ago at Shooting Times magazine, Beretta and the Browning stable, including Maruccu and Winchester, had about 75% of the shotgun market between them. We ran a poll last night among Field Sports Channel viewers. Totting up the polls on YouTube and Facebook, here is the split, with the Beretta and Browning gang together still owning the lion's share of the market, and, despite Dennis's best efforts, Greeny not a major contender. Supposing I'm a sort of £5,000 first gun type person, perhaps I've been tempted by the big shoots of Wales, for example, the north of England, or even round here in Somerset. What sort of gun should I be looking for at 5,000?
Well, you're in a lovely marketplace now because you can cherry pick at the upper end of the range of the names already mentioned. I mean, the EELL Beretta, I mean, absolutely stunning. The Maxim Caesar Greeny, the monster of a popular gun is the Maruccu High Pheasant, designed for the Exmoor shoots and whatever.
That's a good rattle off of good quality names. And if you happened to, have £100,000 in your pocket or more, what would you personally buy right now?
Now there's an answer. Well, I'm an old boy, so I'd buy a classic, and I'd enjoy the look of it. You know, this gun here could tell a story or two, couldn't it? It's not £100,000, but to buy a similar one today, new, Purdy, Holland Boss, it's a matter of preference. You know, blondes, brunettes.
Which one's the ginger?
The pass.
You do a lot of repairs here as well. Which make is the most often that you see for repairs?
Oh, that would be dangerous, wouldn't it? I have to say, what I call the pretenders. We've got certain continental manufacturers now that are producing guns that look like the big four that we've spoken of. You know, they're glitzy, they're shiny, they're in the plastic box and this. But sadly, they don't offer the same reliability as we've mentioned. And those come in and give us a headache because we're trying to mend a product that someone didn't spend a lot of time on, or the product isn't quite so good.
If you'd like advice from Dennis and perhaps to visit his shop, go to ukgunrepairs.co.uk. Thank you, Dennis. Next up from Somerset to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, it is Hunting YouTube. This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. John Bailey is on fox patrol on a local pheasant shoot. He's using a Remington 700 PCR for safe 200-yard shots. Mark Verman and Fox Control Brannan is doing the same job, keeping foxes off livestock. They have been hitting a farm, so he leaves out a dead goose as bait. He is also using night vision, the XP50. One of the biggest red stags in the UK has fallen. County Deer Stalking brings us the film of the huge 28-point lowland stag shot in a south of England park. As shooting sports enters a period of introspection following attacks on grouse shooting and the general licences, the gun shop in Botley has brought out a thoughtful film about whether pheasants should be released into the British countryside. Duck Commander NI is on tour. He is goose shooting in the Netherlands. Thanks to Andy Owens for sending me this. Also on the move is Norbert from Norbert's Hunting, who sends me this film. He's after whitetail in New York State with Ricky Mills from the Wild Jager channel. Staying in the USA, Mullet Man is in Texas hunting buffalo with air guns. With 750 foot-pounds of muzzle energy, that's an improvement on the 12 foot-pounds that's the legal limit for unlicensed air guns in the UK. And finally, let's go iguana hunting. This film is from the wonderfully named Recoil TV, which is shooting them in Puerto Rico. Recoil TV also brought out a film recently about Rob Gearing from British bipod maker Spartan, old friend of Field Sports Channel. Rob is not quite so green and scaly as these guys. That's it for this week. I put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the I symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you would like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv. Whether or not you want to click on those, the new Field Sports Ireland is out. The Americans come to Ireland to go shooting. Jason is going the full Irish with his mate Danny at the 1,000-yard range at Midland National Shooting Centre of Ireland to take part in an international PRS match. It's the Guardian competition against competitors from across the Atlantic. Plus, Jason has had a pair of custom-made boots for him from US cobblers Lathrop and Sons. He reviews what makes good hunting boots. Click on the link on the screen above to watch that one. And if you haven't done so already, please pop over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv, link in the description below. You can click to like us there on Facebook and on Instagram. You can click to follow us on Twitter, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, and of course you can pop your email address into our register page so we can contact you about this show, Field Sports Britain, which is at 7 PM UK time every Wednesday. Plus, you can back us. Go to fieldsportschannel.tv/fieldsportsnation to find out about that. And among the many benefits, you'll be getting my Tuesday night vlog with behind the scenes at Field Sports Channel. That's it. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.